Hello, welcome back to our 7th annual book awards. 7th? That is incredible and also weird. I don't know, but I like it. I like it. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope that the readathon is going well. I'm so excited. I know December is not over yet, but sometimes I do these at the end of the year and carry any of the books that I have read afterwards into the next year. That didn't happen last year, so we are starting from January till now. But I'm so excited to talk to you about all the books that were the standouts in their categories. The best, the worst, the weirdest, the most hurty. Let's talk about all of them. If you are curious about the previous years, I will link the playlist down below. And again, you have 6 other videos to watch apparently, which is wild. But just before we get into that, I want to talk about today's sponsor, and this video is sponsored by glassesusa.com. I am so excited to be working with them as someone who wears glasses on a daily. Now you can get a lot of frames for different occasions, for different looks, for different styles, but for that you need to find a place that offers these glasses at a price that you could, stomach, because glasses can get very expensive. Glassesusa.com do offer very competitive prices by cutting out the middleman and offering you over 10,000 prescription glasses in so many different styles. They have some in-house brands like Muse and Emilia E, as well as some brands that you will recognize probably, Gucci and Ray-Ban, Oakley, and many, many more. And they offer these up to 70% off the retail price. Whilst having many choices is great, it can be quite overwhelming, so they have this very handy online quiz that can tell you which glasses would be recommended for you and how they would look on you. They have this very handy try-on feature, because I'm a very visual person, and even though there's obviously photos on different people, I just want to see how it looks on me, so that feature was honestly very handy. It can be daunting buying online, but with glassesusa.com you get free shipping and returns as well, and 100% money back guaranteed within 14 days. And you can customize your glasses for a lot of things. There's the blue light blocking, and you can also get prescription sunglasses. For the regular glasses, I got these, which are fairly similar to the ones that I used to wear before the previous ones, you guys will remember. I particularly like the side detail of these. I think it's very, very pretty. I needed prescription sunglasses, especially for driving, which is gonna be a game changer for me. I got these for some wide coverage. I went for gray ones. They have this ridge, which is also pretty cool, I think. And that's how we're looking. I know it's silly, but I'm so excited to be driving in these and not be blinded by the sun. I'm honestly very impressed by quality, but especially by the amount of customizations you get to put on the glasses. That was the first for me. If you're looking for a new pair of glasses, prescription glasses, sunglasses, and also with prescription, or even the contacts, I will leave the link in the description bar. Please feel free to check them out. And thank you so much to the glassesusa.com for sponsoring this video and allowing me to see a little bit better so I can keep reading my books. Let's talk about these categories, shall we? The first category is the most emotional or most impactful book of 2022, almost at 23, already living in a wrong year. And you'll remember me at the very beginning of this year constantly mentioning this, and it honestly really held up. It truly held up. So I'm gonna go with Day Tripper, which is a graphic novel, but it got me quite emotional. I know it got some of my friends quite emotional when they were reading this, and it's a story about stories, and it's a story about life and death and the meaning of it all, and it's just written in such a approachable yet beautiful and indulgent way, and I just thought it was really, really well done, and I would absolutely recommend this if you're looking for a little emotional palate cleanser. For the most unique book of the year, I actually went with Pet. I don't think I've read any of the books that would stand out because of their format as much as their idea. In this universe, I think this is I want to say YA, it could be middle grade. It's one of those books that's a little bit hard to categorize because of the themes used, but that's a whole different discussion for another time. But this is a world post the cleanse of all the monsters and everything bad. So in this world, only good things happen, and if a bad thing happens, a monster appears. And our main character kind of summons the monster accidentally from one of her parents' paintings. The monster is a very kind of odd creature, is there not for her, but for someone else around her. And then we go through this discovery of what's happening and why this monster is here. As if I'm remembering right, I might be a little bit off of some of these books because my memory is bad, but and it was very touching, the ending. I don't want to say much because I also am hesitant of calling what it was, you know, the theme a spoiler. It feels icky, but if you do have topics that are harder for you to read, I would probably look up some content warnings for this book. But I think it was done really interestingly, and it was very, very touching. It could have easily gone into the emotional category as well as this, but I think for the uniqueness of how the topic was approached, I really appreciated it. So most surprising this year is actually the same series I'm pretty sure I was speaking about in last time, but thankfully the other way around. So last year I'm pretty sure I selected Golden Sun from Red Rising because I was so in love with Red Rising, and then Golden Sun was a letdown, which I know tickled a lot of you. So I'm hoping that you guys will be happy to hear that in the other side of the spectrum, this year I was surprised because Morningstar, which is the last in the first trilogy of Red Rising, was actually a success. I was back into it, I was feeling involved again, and I just enjoyed it much more than the middle one. So I know this is still an unpopular opinion, but I'm just personally, selfishly very glad that I still had some enjoyment from the series because I was scared. I will admit, I was scared going into this one because of how my roller coaster of emotions has gone for the whole series. So again, I really enjoyed the first one, was really disappointed in the second one, but this one, you know, this one got me again, so I was pleasantly surprised and will be continuing with the series so I can have like a better final verdict. I think I need to read the next trilogy, or I don't even know if it's a trilogy. I just need to continue to solidify my views on the series, but 2 out of 3, not bad, and I, again, pleasantly surprised. Don't you worry though, I wouldn't be myself if I didn't disappoint a large amount of people with my answers and opinions. So I got you, don't worry. Let's talk about my most disappointed read of the year. So this is an author that I've actually watched quite a lot of adaptations, like really quite a lot. Really enjoyed all of them. For a time, actually, one of them was even my favorite show until season 2 ruined it all. Let me know in the comments if you can guess what show that is once you know the author. I was obsessed, but I still haven't read anything fully from the author. I read a little bit, but not fully. And this year was the year that I was, you know what, we gotta fix this. We gotta fix this gap in my literature journey. And we fixed something. It didn't quite go as I expected. So I read the first Neil Gaiman work for myself, and that was Neverwhere. I mean, it started off well. I was just waiting for it to end. The only reason I think I didn't DNF this is because it was a book club read and I really wanted to discuss it fully, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle. I also think I realized this about myself, that if it's a journey story without much else, plus a little bit of lyrical vague things on top, I'm trying to be kind here, then is just, I think, an automatic no for me. I just know that that's not what I jive with. I understand the message and I appreciate the message. I really do. And I actually would love to see more of that kind of messaging. I don't want to say in case that you want to experience it for yourself as well, but I would love to see that kind of topic and message explored more. It's just the way that it was done, it was not for me. So now I don't know if it was just this or if I could try other works, but because it was so largely on the way that it was written and the writing style and some choices, I don't know. It might just be that Neil Gaiman is not for me, which is, again, so disappointing, hence the category. Like, it was a true disappointment. I felt it. Then we have a little new category, which is the most enjoyable book. I just want to include this book somewhere in the categories, and this is the only one that we really felt good for that. Yes, maybe. The Very Secret Society for Regular Witches, and I felt about this book how I think people were expecting me to feel about the Cerulean Sea, but I didn't. Cerulean Sea was good, but it was lukewarm good for me. This was still very chill and very non-committal, but it just felt better. The overall message of a lot of these cozy fantasies is obviously very similar. It's about acceptance, it's about going against prejudice, it's about family and mostly found family. So I do think that the messaging is very similar, but I just appreciated how it was done, maybe a little bit more. I also like that there was a little bit of a less of a focus on kids, so that might have something to do with it. But this is set in modern day where there's witches, but they're obviously hiding from people, and our main character has a YouTube channel about witching, and someone notices her and wants to hire her to be a teacher for 3 witches that were definitely not supposed to be living together. And they live in this house far away, the nowhere house, I think, with a bunch of staff, and we get to know the staff and the kids, and it was very enjoyable, and I can't wait to read more from this author now, so thumbs up from me. For the most beautiful cover, I don't think I will be surprising anyone here. You know I like those type of covers, and to me it's the Hollow Places. I mean, it's so beautiful, it's stunning. There's not much to say. I really like when we go this kind of dead nature, I guess, way. Yeah. I've also added the best non-fiction category. Will this last? I don't know, but I did have one that I wanted to talk about to you today or this year, and that is I'm Glad My Mom Died. I feel like you guys have probably seen this other places as well, so it's not gonna come as a shocker, but I thought I was listening to this as an audiobook, and I thought it was a very interesting account of her life. I was not familiar with this actress. I didn't grow up with Disney Channel. I grew up in Lithuania, so I did not, maybe some other people that I don't actually know, but our household did not have these shows, so I did not know anything about this person. No idea. So you definitely can read this book without knowing the person, I think, and it will be still as interesting and impactful. It's about her relationship with food and also her obviously mother, manipulation and love and complications and a lot of emotions, and it was done in a humorous way, which I think was what resonated with me a lot. Best romance category this year was hard. I've not actually read a lot of romance this year at all. I did read a few, and out of those few, I think I would have to go with The Road Trip. This is still my least favorite book from the ones that I read from this author, but it's still not bad. It's not a bad thing, I just maybe prefer the other ones. I did enjoy, however, how messy this was. I just think that a lot of conflicts were very much based on miscommunication, which is not my favorite. However, with the messy people like we had in this book, I think it is very believable. But it's about this woman who has to go to this wedding, and her ex also goes to this wedding, and they all have to carpool for a reason, and we jump back and forth from, you know, how they met and that storyline to now and unpacking the mess that they found themselves in. It was good, and it was still enjoyable. It was maybe not as strong as the other books, but it's still the best romance I read this year. And it's not really, I wouldn't necessarily say it's romance. It was not a cozy feel, get the butterflies type of romance at all. So it feels a bit cheeky putting it in this category, but I'm pretty sure it is still classed as romance online, so I'm just gonna go with that. The next category is our mystery thriller / horror now. And for once, surprisingly, I had so many to pick from. So clearly this year I read more of this category than maybe ever before. I read some really good ones as well, but I think if I had to pick one, I would go with The Last House on Needless Street. This took me on a ride. It was very interesting, and it was despite it being very much not fun, because obviously, you know, of the themes. And it was also very sad in places. I had so much fun trying to predict things and theorize about what's gonna happen, and then so much satisfaction when I predicted some things right, because I feel like it made it difficult, and I really enjoy the challenge. This does start off, and it raised some red flags in my brain because I was afraid of the stereotype they might be going with. I am glad to say that by the end of this book, I wasn't as concerned. I don't want to, again, talk too much about this because it's a mystery thriller horror. It kind of focuses on a missing kid's case, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Another one that you should definitely check out content warnings if you are sensitive to some topics, because this one touches a lot of them, like a lot. I'm gonna cheat slightly for the best comic because this is absolutely just because of my history with this, and I'm gonna go with The Witch because it was a trip down memory lane and it really felt like it. I've not read something that gives me so much nostalgia in a very long time, and for that reason, and for that reason alone, this is in this category. I don't think that this is the best comic ever, but it was the most eventful one for me this year, and I'm just gonna not cop out and answer honestly, which I always will. So, you know, not so much a useful category for you, but I still wanted to mention just how much fun I had rereading this. Getting to the big guns, let's talk best fantasy. But I'm gonna go with Elantris. This is another one that I read fairly early on in the year, and I just had a very good time with it. I know this is not the most beloved by Brandon Sanderson book. It was very easy to get into. I still wouldn't recommend it over Mistborn, just because I think Mistborn is more rewarding and probably better. But from the ones that I've read this year, I just really enjoyed it. And it's all about this city that has another city outside this city. and people get this kind of like disease, and they are shunned away out of the society into this other city to die. But obviously we will follow someone who gets there, and instead of just giving up and dying, decides to do a little bit of investigation. And there's also a love story. At the core of this, there's a love story, and I just thought it was kind of sweet. I've really enjoyed myself. That being said, I think this was a fairly medium year for me for fantasy, and this was a fairly difficult category this year. So that's interesting. that's interesting, and that's new. Then we get to sci-fi, and for me, it's an absolutely remarkable thing by Hank Green, or the sequel. I maybe like the sequel even more. It's basically a book that's just social commentary, I think. That's how I read it. I really enjoyed the questions it raised. It's also extremely approachable, I believe. It reads like contemporary, but it has sci-fi elements. I would probably say it like that. The second one has more sci-fi elements than the first one, possibly why I enjoyed it more. And there's also a monkey in the second one. But the first one starts with these statues being visited all over the earth, and our main character is one of the first people to kind of document these statues and post about them, and they get famous on internet, and that really shifts the whole world for them. And it's about how that fame gets to people's heads and how people handle personal relationships in that kind of scenario, which I thought it was very interesting. And obviously the statues and the mystery of what and why and what is happening. And that of course leaves us with the creme de la creme of the year. And there were a couple of choices that, you know, were contenders. At the end of the day, this one felt very easy, but it's a recent read, so I don't think I've actually spoken on the channel about this book or about reading this book, because again, very recent, but not recent enough that I've not had time to sit on it, basically. And the more time passes, actually, the more I feel for it. Just admire how it was written, but I can also absolutely see why this would not be for everyone, and some people would probably find it very draggy and slow and boring. I didn't. I felt seen in places that I didn't expect to be seen, because there is the topic of chronic pain as well. It's a story about game developers, and we do go through a lot of years following them. It's a story about very messy, complicated friendships and, you know, some miscommunications, but also just flawed human behavior, as well as the beauty of friendship and grief, the hardship and just normal things people go through. So again, I can understand why it would not be necessarily for everyone. It's not flashy, it's not adventurous, it's a very much slice of life story, but I just think it talked about so much and so well. Like, it's not hidden, it's there, but it's not on the nose. Like, it's not overly explained. It is on the nose, but it's not overly explained to you. It's not spoon-fed to you. You just sit with the uncomfortable feelings of the characters and feel frustrated that you can just like smack some sense into them. And it leaves you thinking, and it's kind of like almost like incomplete, and you want it to be different, but it's realistic that it isn't, and I think that's the beauty of it. So the book is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I had very high expectations, and you know, they were met. I really enjoyed this. Again, if you do read this, do not go in this expecting it to be fast and eventful. No, it's a slow drag of pain, but in the best, most delicious, most relatable way. I'm so glad that I read this, and I think it's gonna be a book that I will either reread or just like think of sometimes throughout the years. I don't think this is going to be one of those that I will forget that I've read, which a lot of the books are, and that's absolutely fine. They do their time, they do their service, and it's good. It's you don't have to carry it with you, but I think this one will stay. I don't want to oversell it either, but it really just like it hit me, you know, like it hit the right spot. Maybe it was the right time. I just really enjoyed it and I appreciate it. And maybe I appreciate it more than I enjoyed it. And sometimes you just want that pain, you know? It's definitely not fun. If you're expecting something fun to do with games, it isn't fun. It's not meant to be fun. I have also read some reviews that people said that there's too much like gaming talk, and maybe I'm not the best person to answer this because I do game and I do enjoy gaming, but I didn't find it overwhelming. I think that if you read, you know, Ready Player One and found that overwhelming, I did. But I do think that this is way more approachable than that, so I wouldn't be too scared if you read those comments. I think it's fine, but maybe I'm just a bit biased. These books are my selected ones that make it into the video. If you do wonder about some other books that I will be reading, I will be making a tier ranking video of all of them because I've never done that and it sounds really fun and I want to do that. So that will be coming your way. I would love to hear what is your best of the books in the comments down below. Please let me know. Please just pick one. I know it's hard, but please pick one. I would love to also make like a little list of all of your answers and maybe do a video on it later, or just read some or just add some to TBR. It gets complicated if you pick more, and that's the game rule. Pick one. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check theglassesusa.com down below. It's linked there for you to find. Thanks again for them sponsoring the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!